Should you buy Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Clash? For the most part, that's kind of the long and short of this video. At full retail price, I don't think I can recommend this game to almost anyone. Though there are certainly some caveats to that statement, and I'll be going over those in this video. Now right off the bat, just for context, I'm going to say I've not played this game's story mode. I've seen enough of this game's story mode. There's good and bad, but with this game's actual combat and its single player gameplay, where you're fighting against different cursed spirits, it's pretty cool. It's whatever. They look like they do in the show, as ridiculous as they are, which is great. But this game's combat simply, I don't like fighting game single player modes anyway, for the most part. But this game's combat in a single player mode, just absolute no. And they'll be ignoring the PvE online mode as well, because to me they're just absolute snooze fest. That might apply to you, but I feel like the replayability in a story mode, is particularly for this game, and in that mode is so minimal that I'm just going to be focusing on the online player versus player experience. Right, let's get the easiest one out of the way first. If you are a player who also has a friend interested in purchasing this game alongside you, so you can both play online, or even in the PvE modes or whatever, even though I'd still struggle to recommend it at full price, with a friend, I can imagine, just off the experiences I've had as a solo player, and sometimes matching up with my partner that I get matched up with in a game, the euphoria of playing as your favourite Jujutsu Kaisen characters, and getting these joint attacks, and landing your supers, and combining your combos, and building your curse energy, and I've been playing a lot of Fushiguro and a lot of Nanami. Playing those characters has just felt amazing, and I've not played everyone I want to play yet. There's a bunch of characters on that roster I want to play. If you have got a friend who's going to buy this game with you, again, full retail price is a hard sell, but there is definitely fun to be had in this game, and a lot of the game's compounding issues that ultimately make it a complete no-no for a solo player, in my opinion, who hasn't purchased the game yet, you would probably be able to ignore far more, because playing anything with friends is pretty fucking dope most of the time. So yeah, easiest one out of the way. If you are a player who has a friend interested in purchasing this game with you, try and get a discount, but this game is fun. It is worth the purchase. So as the thumbnail and the title of this video will inevitably convey, I can't recommend this game at retail price to any solo players whatsoever. There's just too many issues that this game has that stops you from doing the very thing that it shines the best at, which is playing it and enjoying its combat. Because it really, if you want the simple question that everyone's going to ask, is this game good? A resounding, massive yes. And that is a humongous surprise to me. When you look at the floaty ass gameplay, the really weird and janky animation quality going up and down, some things are really great, some things are awful. I was worried about this game before launch, and loads of people were, but upon playing it, and even then it's still super early, but you can see through its compounding issues, like lag, like input delay, like the servers being absolute shit and not being able to find a game, players going AFK on your team and the enemy team. I'll talk about these more as we go along, but through all of its issues, you can see the absolute shining potential with this game. That's as a solo player, which is why I think I can recommend this game at a discount to players who have a friend who want to purchase the game with them, because again, a lot of these compounding issues won't really affect them that much, because you'll be having more fun. As a solo player, if you're not willing to get on the mic with the person you get matched with, God forbid the AFK in the first place, it's going to be a lot harsher an experience for you, because you'll also be running into two stacks who are actually communicating and coordinating, and a lot of the time from my experience they absolutely destroy you. Now of course, you know, there's always a skill issue, you've got to get better at the game, but it definitely affects your experience somewhat. The reason why talking about whether I recommend this game to a solo player or not is a bit harder though, is because of I'm essentially pushing you away from a lot of the really good things about this game because of its issues. Like, even at discount as a solo player, I'm not sure if this game has got the staying power to stick around for a while. You know, if you buy it with a friend, you maybe I'll play it for a month and it's fine, it's fun, and then you get rid of it. Whereas if I recommend it to a solo player, even at a discount, you may not get the best experience even at a discount. You may still, for a month, if it dies after a month, that month of you playing could be full of lag, button delay, AFK teammates, shit matchmaking, servers crashing, and then on top of that you might not necessarily even enjoy the game that much in terms of its combat. So I'll be going over its strengths and its weaknesses, and ultimately what outweighs the weaknesses that outweigh those strengths, and why I struggle so much to recommend this game. Now I'm going to start with the strengths. I've pretty much made the point that this game's gameplay is its only strength. I guess I mean it's more its only potent strength that will possibly sway a player towards purchasing the game. There are other strengths, though not as worthwhile mentioning in regards to that sort of question of whether you should buy the game, like the music. The music team absolutely cooked in this game. I'm sure I'll put some examples somewhere. Maybe right now, just me playing even the menu music, it's so fire, and there's loads of tracks that play. I don't know if they're dedicated to stages, I'm sure I'll look this up, or if they're just randomly in some sort of playlist. The music is, not only is it great, but it actually feels like Jujutsu Kaisen music. Maybe they wouldn't be like the standout tracks if they appeared in, say, Season 2's OST, but they are good tracks, they are solid tracks, and they actually quite fit the anime that they are, you know, in the game for, so that's a big plus. The customization is also not groundbreaking by any means, but it's appreciated, and it is kind of funny with the school outfits, with the cursed spirits and whatever, like, that shit's kind of funny. But, you know, it's appreciated, it's not great, I'd like it to be better, but it's not awful. The main strength for this game, as I've said, is the gameplay, and how the gameplay is just so infinitely satisfying when you start to click with another teammate. Now this game is inherently built for 2v2 to its core. I know a lot of people would have wanted a 1v1 sort of versus game mode in this game, which is the far more accessible option, understandable, but the characters are simply not built for it, like with the way their combo strings work, with the way their curse techniques work, with the way that all their abilities work. Like there's so many characters like Fushiguro again who can summon the frog, and he can sort of bring people in with it and launch them for a combo, or have someone else have their teammate follow up on that and launch for a combo. You get cursed energy bonuses for saving your teammate when they're getting comboed. You get cursed energy bonuses for comboing someone with your teammate, and the most beneficial way of raising your curse technique is landing joint attacks with your teammate. Now, what's a joint attack? For me, these and the supers are the most satisfying aspect of this game. They're quite simple to land, but it's quite hard to actually get them off. All you have to do is make use of what every single character in this game has, which will be like their down square input, down one input on their pad, which is like usually a long drawn out animation that's unblockable, and it launches the player that's been struck into the air, into a really slow floaty animation, and on the screen it'll pop up saying joint attack chance, right? In this game, if you get hit before your teammates can follow up on that joint attack opportunity, they'll just pop out the animation, you won't get it, right? But if your teammate can attack that player who's been hit with the launcher for the joint attack before you get hit, you get an animation that plays. These animations are inconsistent in their quality, but they're still pretty badass, even despite that. The best ones are the joint attack animations, for lack of a better phrasing, where, say, if you pair up a character like Fushiguro and Itadori, or Yuta and Maki, or Gojo and Nanami, Jogo and Hanami, when you pair up characters that actually have an animation together, that's usually where you get the coolest animations. And I'm just going to let a few of them play, because just watching them will do way more justice than anything I could say.
Shall we get started? Take that! I don't have time for this!
This won't take long.
Find off to attack! Ah! Sit!
Itadori!
Ah! Chidori, let's wrap this up. It's over. Maki!
I know! Here I go!
Right!
Way. Coming! Maki! I got this!
I kind of went a bit overboard there. I wasn't necessarily planning on putting so many in the video. I was only going to show a few, but I mean they're all so good, or so many of them are so good. And there were some when I was looking these up that I hadn't even seen yet myself, like the Kugisaki Itadori one. I didn't realize they recreated that moment from the show, or Jump Jutsu Kaisen with Itadori and Nanami. That was sick as well. But there's also some omissions, like I have said in this video that I've been playing mostly for Shiguro and Nanami. Their solo joint attack animations are not here because they're pretty shit. If you want me to be honest, it's just they are extra examples of the inconsistency in this game's animation, which is unfortunate. But as you can see by the best examples, landing these is mega hype in a match. It's so fucking sick. I'm going to show some supers as well in a bit, but as you can see, the joint attacks are so fun to land. It's the individuality of the characters and how they play, and how you're replicating their style in the anime, and the supers that just, they feel so good in this game. It has to be said though, again I'm going to bring up the inconsistency in animation, that you as a player, if you haven't seen all these super and joint stack animations, could be severely disappointed by the character you plan on playing. This has literally happened to me. When this game was announced, I wanted to play Maki first. That was the character I was going to play. But after seeing just the way Maki animates in general, and her super and her joint attacks, it wasn't enough. Like, her joint attack collaborations with Yuta and Megami are sick, but her own one isn't so great. Like, it put me off the character. That may happen to you too, unfortunately. But again, that's just part and parcel of this game's inconsistent animation. And another complaint I'll get out of the way, and I don't know why the fuck this is popping up all of a sudden, but dubbing. Now, this is not a slight at any of the performers in the dub cast for Jujutsu Kaisen Curse Slash, because them motherfuckers, if you've watched the show, are talented. They are fantastic voice actor and voice actresses. They are talented people. I don't know how some of these takes get in, but I know it's probably got nothing to do with them. It's probably got everything to do with however Bandai Namco are sorting out the localization, and whoever's sorting out just all that shit and putting it into the game, and for whatever reason, whether they're being rushed, whether they're just not taking the time and actually fucking taking the best takes, they're putting in takes that you can blatantly see either they've been poorly instructed as to what they're actually voicing in that scene, or it's just a literal take that's not even, like, it's not like a final take worthy thing. I'm sure a lot of these VAs could listen back. I mean, it's happening with Storm Connection, and there'll be a video on that fucking game, you best believe it. Don't worry about that. That's coming. I don't know when, but I'm going to go scorched earth on that piece of shit. A lot of these VAs will listen back to the lines that have been put in the game. They'll go, I have no idea where that line's come from, or I don't know how the hell they chose this one. This game has a lot of that too. It even has a lot of audio issues. I mean, if you've played this game and you've been hit by Gojo's domain expansion, he just starts rambling on as he does, but you just can't hear him. You can't hear him at all. But yeah, dub is a bit questionable in this game too, but I'll just get that one out of the way. It's not too much of an issue. The lip syncing in this game is also fucking awful. It's not the worst thing in the world, I don't really care, but it has to be said. To round off me singing this game's praise, I'm going to show some ultimates. Now again, the animation quality truly varies. Like, I'm not going to show Yuji's, but I'm mentioning his because it's pretty shit. But there are others that are absolutely fantastic. I only show my personal favourites, but man, there's some pretty good ones in this game. Afterwards, I'll start on the weaknesses, and essentially how all those weaknesses make everything I've said so far basically not even matter. Really.
Domain expansion. Infinite void. This is the inner world of livingness, perception, contact. Every act in life is repeated infinitely over and over.
We going in! Lend me your ultimate power. Let's go together, Rika. I did it!
Not yet. This is the end. Here I go. Domain expansion. Malevolent Shrine.
Did I drop the ball?
As I hope those ultimates there showed, this game, when the animation does pop, it's really good. Like, it does look amazing, and those three in particular are shining examples of it for sure. Right, now onto the game's weaknesses. I've just had a fucking 10-minute rant not saving BandLab, so here we fucking go again. It's got to get done though. This game's weaknesses, as I promptly said at the start of the video, if you're interested in buying this game with a friend who also wants to buy this game, a lot of these things that I'm going to go on to, or that I've mentioned also in passing that I'll expand upon now, won't really matter that much. And if you both love Jujutsu Kaisen even more so, like you're not really going to care about a lot of these issues, because playing shit with friends is just fun anyway. So you'll get around a lot of these. As a solo player, at least to me, these are going to be deal breakers for most players, because it truly does hinder your experience with the game that much, right? So first one, and just the absolute biggest hurdle, really, is the fact that it's a 2v2 fighter. Now, I've just been waxing poetic about how awesome it is when you engage with this game's combat and experience the joint attacks and land the ultimates and all that type of stuff, linking up with the teammate. Yes, that shit's amazing. As a solo player, you interact with those systems markedly differently than someone playing with a friend. Tanuki, what do you mean by that? Well, let me tell you, right? I've already mentioned about matching up with 2 stacks, right? Again, if you were playing with a friend, this shit's not really going to matter, right? You just don't care. But as a solo player, when you're matching with the 2 stack, they tend to have the advantage, particularly if they're playing quote-unquote meta characters as well. And no one really cares about the meta. Who gives a shit who's good and who's not? Whatever. But this is just one issue of many. So if you're playing against meta characters, against players who've matched up together and they're in a party, and you're matched up with someone that you're not in a party with, and you're not willing to get in a party with them, most of the time, you're going to get smacked, right? That's going to happen. Another thing that's going to happen to you a lot, and it can happen on the enemy team as well, teammates being AFK. You'd be fucking surprised, especially with how long it takes to get into a game anyway on this fucking game, because of how shit the matchmaking is, how players, not just AFK for like the first 30 seconds, the whole game. Like, they're just not playing. Like, I've got plenty of matches on stream. I don't know if I'll edit and put it in this video, I don't know if I can fucking be arsed at this point, but I've got plenty of matches on stream where I've match made and the players either just left straight away after dying once, or it's just AFK. Funky as it is, oh my god, are you serious? One of them's AFK. This is what I mean about the 2v2 shit, bro. It just isn't fucking playing the game. And it's like, again, as a solo player, that shit's incredibly frustrating. That shit's incredibly annoying. If it happens on the enemy team, it's also annoying because you don't want to fucking play against a bot. It's not organic. Don't care. It's not fun to do that. It's just not. It's so frustrating. That's one issue. Another issue that makes it mad frustrating as a solo player, input delay. Now this is standard amongst enemy fighters, arena fighters particularly, that the online is a bit shaky and the input delay is a bit weird. This game though, don't get me wrong, you get your fine games. I've streamed this game a couple of times now. There are definitely loads of matches I've had that are fine. Anime, arena fighter standard, where the input delay is noticeable, but it's like, yeah, I can deal with this. This game, you get too many matches, one after the other, where the input delay is a full fucking second to like a second and a half, even 2 seconds, and it's unplayable. Now, that's already annoying, but with the way this game is, now it doesn't necessarily shirk making characters like they are in the show and a bit ridiculous and crazy. It makes meta characters like Sukuna, Gojo, Nobara, Jogo very frustrating to play against because they can run away from you and hit you from a distance whilst the game's input delay is absolutely having a seizure, and you just can't compete with that for the most part, especially as a solo player. You might have a little bit of easier time if you're with a teammate coordinating yourselves, but as a solo player, if you're not on the map with your teammate, it's just not happening. And what happens is, particularly with the stronger characters like Gojo, who can teleport with a lot of his attack strings large distances to you, or he can fire purple at you from full screen, or like Sukuna, who has moves where he does also jump like a fair distance, or he can fire Fuga at you from full screen. You might say, well, you should be able to block those even if they're at full screen. Not necessarily, because as you're moving about around the map, keeping in mind where the other player is as well, a lot of times you're going to have no time whatsoever to react to the fact that Sukuna is about to fire Fuga, because you're stuck in animation, and even though you know it's coming, even if you've like long recovered from animation, from attacking the other player, the time it's going to take you to the game to actually register your block, it's just not enough, and you get smacked by Fuga. Now at level 1 that's not much of a problem, but when he's level 2 and 3, level 2 it's doing like nigh on half your health bar, level 3 it's doing like nearly 3/4. I've played games where a Sukuna player has literally got all 4 of the kills on my team or on the enemy team simply just by spamming Fuga, because they'll hit someone with Fuga and they'll literally just delete their health bar. If they've taken one small combo, they just get absolutely deleted, and it just ruins the fun of the game. Like it's ridiculous. Or Gojo, like not even just Gojo, this happens with all characters really. It ruins the flow of the game, because either you're both mashing at each other and there's just no flow, and sometimes you're clashing into each other because of it, or both you and the enemy character are like standing in front of each other blocking for like 5 seconds, because you're both aware of the fact that if one of you presses a button, it's just going to be that shit timing, and the other one's going to press a button and they're going to beat you. And it just, when the game's input delay is high, it just ruins the flow of the fun of the game. Like, it's so fucking bad. And of course, as you may expect, if you've got any experience with previous anime 3D arena fighters, some characters get shafted by the game's shit online, i.e. Nanami. So Nanami's gimmick, as you see in the show, is the 7-3 ratio, right? If he strikes at the right time with a 7-3 ratio, it's like it's like fucking exponentially stronger, right? In this game, the way that they replicate that is if you manage to essentially press a button at the right time when the ratio sort of image flashes on the screen, it can change the property of the move that lands. So in some cases, it can just do more actual damage, right? In some cases, it can wall bounce where it otherwise wouldn't, like a certain normal can wall bounce where it otherwise wouldn't. They're mainly the rewards that you're looking for. Like his R1 curse technique is sort of just like he dashes up to you and he smacks you with his what would you call it, cleaver, his little blade, and it does some damage. If you time the attack at the 7-3 ratio right, it does even more damage. But you can never do that, because you have to try and press the button a full second or a second and a half before the curse thing even comes on, before the 7-3 even comes on the screen. Because if you try and time it once you see it, you're just going to miss it every single time. So you very rarely even end up getting Nanami's any benefits from Nanami's 7-3 ratio, because you just can't. Like that's just completely locked out of the game. So if you are a Nanami enjoyer and you want to play Nanami and you want to fucking hit people with the 7-3 ratio and feel good about that, tough shit. It's not happening unless you get a perfect game in perfect connection. It's not happening. I've already mentioned this, but it's so bad it's got to have its own small little part. The matchmaking and the status of the servers, awful. Since release, it's been awful. I don't even, and I've said this already, I don't know if it's meant to be like this or if it's broken. But the official account for Jujutsu Kaisen Girls Clash on Twitter hasn't really said anything of note at all. Well, said anything at all in regard to the state of the servers and the matchmaking. So it seems like it's operating as it's intended. It's still inconsistent. Sometimes you can get 3, 4, 5 games, bang, 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 right after in a row, and find them fast. And sometimes, as is on my fucking streams, you can be sitting there for 10, 15 minutes doing nothing. Now, I said the music team cooked in this game, and they did. And the music that plays when you go into the online PvP section, that OST is pretty fire. Get fucking used to hearing it, because you'll be hearing it on loop 7 billion times, because you'll be sat in that matchmaking screen forever waiting for a game. So you better get used to it, and you better like it, because if you don't, you better just fucking mute the game, because otherwise that shit's gonna get stuck in your head for forever and a day. It's so frustrating. And then obviously again, people leaving, it's part of matchmaking, and people leaving, people having bad connections once you matchmake, people AFK once you get there. It's so frustrating. That what are you supposed to do? What, as a solo player, what are you supposed to do? Are you expected to slog through those issues and just play the game, because if you do, that's less fun, because the experience is less fun. Or, like, I don't know what the alternative is. Like, as a solo player, you're kind of stuck. You're praying that you get a good teammate. No, you don't even have to be good. Like, fuck skill. Who gives a shit about skill? But you're at least praying for a teammate with good connection, is willing to actually try, isn't AFK. You know what I mean? And also praying you've not ran into a 2-stack that's good enough to absolutely destroy you. Probably should have also brought these up earlier, but then they just popped into my head. The game's user interface is absolutely awful. Not necessarily sometimes in terms of aesthetic, like I know a lot of people have made fun of the fucking 2005 Blu-ray DVD fucking menu screen. I actually kind of like it. I think it's fine, but you know, to each their own. But it's the way like where stuff is sorted that is just really, really dumb. And like most notably in this game's sorry excuse for a training mode, if you even want to say it's an excuse for a training mode, there isn't even like a traditional training mode where you can get like the AI to block, so you can test like block strings or whatever. You literally have to just go into free battle, or the game's couch co-op, I guess you could say, and make the AI, set the AI to do nothing. That's it really. That's your training mode. So yeah, UI is terrible. Training mode is just sad, terrible. Yet despite all of this ranting and bagging on this game, overall my experience has definitely been a fun one thus far, and I've been having a blast when it's going well. And you know, of course, to each their own. If people are also enjoying this game, they don't need to fucking bash them. But at the same time, you've got to be objective as to what you're seeing. And with this game, there's so many issues that just completely make it a null and like, there's no reason why a solo player really should buy this game. Definitely not at retail price. And even at a discount, I'd struggle to recommend it because of its compounding issues. And one other big thing that I've not mentioned yet is I'd be massively interested to know how many copies this game sold and to see its player numbers a couple of weeks down the line, because that's another thing I fear, that because of how poor this game is for a solo player as it stands right now, and as I fear it would still remain in the future, maybe some of the connectivity issues and the server things get improved upon, but still the solo experience, many things that I've stated in this video will still stand regardless of that. I fear that a lot of solo players are going to walk away from the game because it's like, well, I'm not really having any fun on my own, or as much fun as I could have on my own, and they're going to leave the game, which is going to leave a lot of the 2-stacks, understandably so, sticking with the game because they're enjoying it and also playing it with a friend. So it'll just further dwindle the player base and also accentuate the issues of running into 2-stacks even more for a solo player. So it just makes the game, it's impossible to recommend it. Even if it was slightly better as a game somehow, it would be hard to recommend it. I can't go as far as to say I love this game, because I don't, but I just, maybe I'm glazing, but I think this game's a great game, man. I do not think, I really thought this game was going to come out and it was going to suck. I really did. I know a lot of other people did as well. I know, you know, people might say that overall it does suck because its story offering isn't great, and because the, I don't know, basic features missing, animation is inconsistent, and the net play as well isn't great. Alright, yeah, okay, I can understand that. But, you know, anyone who's been around this channel long enough knows that I don't necessarily like single player modes in fighting games anyway, for the most part. Although you should probably play Tekken 8 because it's fucking incredible. But I'm not much of a single player enjoyer in fighting games. And the longest, most replayable factor of a fighting game is it's online. So that's mainly what I wanted to address with this game, and what I was eager to see, you know, how it would survive in the wild once it came out. Like, it's even, is it even, I don't know, I was going to say it's even more inconsistent than Storm Connections. Again, I'll be roasting that fucking game at some point. But, you know, what is it with these fucking Bandai Namco games coming out right now? Just completely missing the mark in some aspects. Like, Storm Connections tonally misses the mark in terms of, like, it being the sort of culmination of the Storm series. And as it should be a celebratory game, but in reality, there's so little to it. And their post-launch support so far has been so unenthusiastic that it feels like just a fucking piss on the franchise name and on the series name as well. And I'm not even someone who's massively educated and played much of the whole Storm series. My younger brother has, but to me, even as a newcomer, it looks like a just piss in the face of the legacy. And then Curse Clash isn't that offensive, but it seems to drop the ball on just like the most basic inclusive features that you're going to need to have in there, given the fact that it's a 2v2 fire. I don't know, maybe I'm just looking for something that I was never going to get. But all of this is to say, to round this video off, I will not recommend this game at retail price. I strongly urge, of course, do whatever you want with your money, but I strongly urge you do not purchase this game as a solo player at retail price. If you have a friend to play it with, it's still going to have problems, but you may well be inclined to take that chance. You may, if you both end up enjoying the gameplay, once you get used to it, have an absolute blast with this game. A solo player at a discount, like I think I purchased this game for Great British pounds, £44.99, right? That's way too much for me. Like, I'd struggle to recommend this game at like £25, £30. Like that's ridiculous for this game. They've got DLC coming as well with hidden inventory. I'm sure I'm definitely hyped for Toji to come out, and maybe for them to do obviously younger versions of Gojo and Geto. Yeah, that's going to be cool. And maybe if this game sold well, the story mode for hidden inventory could be a little bit better. I don't know, but I just don't think there's enough here to recommend this game at any type of steep price. That I really honestly don't think so, despite the absolute blast that you can have, and absolutely I have had so far with this game, and continue to have. Like I say, if this comes out on the 9th of February, I will be streaming this tonight. In fact, I'm due to be live in like an hour and a half, so I definitely do plan on sticking with this game and continuing to play it. I want to try out more characters aside from Shigeru and Nanami. Like, I'd like to try out Gojo and Sukune and Geto and Mahito and Jogo. I definitely want to play the majority of the roster and really sink myself into this game. But my biggest worries are the actual act of playing the game is not an easy one or a pleasant one a lot of the time, and because of the way it works, and it's a 2v2 fire, is this game going to have the staying power for its mass populace to stick around? As a solo player, am I going to be able to efficiently find games a month from now, or am I going to have to drop the game? Like, that's what I fear, and that's why I simply just can't recommend it to anyone who's a solo player and struggle to even at a discount. So for the final time, I ask the question to the true king of curses, Joe Goat. Should you buy Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash? Nah, I'd wait.